How's it going, everybody? So today I kind of want to do a bit of a video review on the Crown Vic on 2.5 years of ownership and 50,000 kilometers. So for those of you that are American, that's a little over 30,000 miles. So I'm just going to go over what I've done for preventive maintenance, what it's needed, etc., etc. So really, when I first purchased the car in March of 2016, well, so not 2.5 years, but good enough, it needed rims and a differential cover. Reason why it needed rims is two of them were bent and causing heavy vibration, and one of them was leaking air entirely, so I had to get those off. So what I did is I replaced them with the steel center cap rim here, as you can see, which I just repainted recently, so it dries much better and also handles better with the bigger center cap. So overall, the car has been extremely reliable. As you can see, a couple of my rain reflectors fell off, so those need to get replaced. But really cannot complain about this car too much. It now has a little over 90,000 US miles on it, so that's 150,000 kilometers. So that means I purchased it just under 100,000. So like I said, car has been extremely reliable for the most part, and I absolutely love driving it. So like I said, I'm going to talk a bit about it. So what I've done, differential cover, that was due to rust. Then not too long after, I'd say 6-7 months after, going into the winter time of next year, so getting into 2017, it ended up needing a e-brake. So what happened was, in the back of the e-brake assembly here, I don't even know if I'm on the right side, to be honest. So the e-brake clamps down. What it did is it went through the backing plate in behind the rotor. So the backing plates are known to rust out in the rust belt areas. So those are $500 from Ford. Yes, that is how much backing plates cost from Ford. And in the US, it's not a whole lot better. So luckily they were able to rig it up so it could still clamp down properly without needing a full-blown backing plate. They put in a separate piece of metal and saved a lot of time and money that way. So that would have been the costly repair. So watch out for those when you're purchasing one of these in the rust belt. What else has it needed? It started to misfire a bit. So the throttle body needed to be cleaned because that was fairly dirty. And also I put in new spark plugs so it runs much better. Really, that's all I've really had to do besides your oil changes. The transmission I had got done twice. I did it once at 100,000 or 101,000. Then I did it at 125,000 at the Ford dealership, just to make sure the right fluid's in, etc., etc. And that way, you know, most of it is new fluid inside the transmission, and you don't have to really worry about doing it too much. So I'm going to do that at 175,000. So brakes need to be serviced, which I'll do soon, as well as the AC will need to be serviced. So the brakes are due. It's at the 50,000 mark now. Actually, they're over their service limit, but a lot of my driving is highway for the most part, so they don't get used heavily, except for when I want to drive the car hard. So like I said, would I still suggest purchasing a Crown Victoria in 2018? Gas prices are higher. When I first started driving these, gas prices came down to like 83, 84 cents a liter. So this is like 2014, 15 when I had the Grand Marquis. For those of you that may remember, gas prices are 83 cents a liter. Now it is $1.24. So gas prices were under $3 a gallon Canadian. That was insane, or around there. Now they're about $4.50, $4.75. So if you're looking for a Crown Victoria as a daily driver, it is going to be super reliable. It's going to be super reliable, especially if you find a lower mileage one, civilian owned. Even a police interceptor that's lower mileage is probably going to be extremely reliable. You just might have to replace a couple extra things here and there from police use. It's just the way it is. But if you're driving long distances or anything like that, I would almost suggest getting a Crown Vic as a fun car and getting a small beater car that is very good on gas. But that all depends on how far you're driving. So if you're driving 100 miles a day, that might be something you want to look into. But if you're only driving 10 miles, 15 miles a day, 20 miles, yeah, a Crown Vic is still easily doable for those on a tight budget. Other things to look out for in a Crown Vic is going to be the intake manifold. I'm going to do that out of like, just so I know it's done, I'm going to do it at 185,000 kilometers, because they do like to blow up around the 120,000 mile mark. So that's about 200K. And like I said, for those that live in the Rust Belt, got to be very careful. The rust, you saw this in the last video, underneath is not awful, but it's also not the best thing in the world. It's hard to get a couple pictures of it. And like I said, I still want to replace the rear back here to make that black eventually. This was all redone as well a year and a half ago, but it's starting to come back again. So like I said, another suggestion is too, which I need to do, you can see where some of the fixed paint peeled off. What I need to do, and what a lot of people suggest, is take these off and spray under the rocker panels, because it likes to rust out very, very quickly. The rims, even in non-rusty areas, so like non-salt belt areas, will rust out. I don't know what it is. Ford used extremely cheap paint on the rims, so you're probably going to want to go paint those yourself anyway. So they last. Another rust spot is right under the fenders here, so you can see a little bit coming, and when you look up underneath, you can also see a little bit starting just on the insides. Like I said, guys, it's been 2.5 years I've owned a Crown Vic, and I have hardly put in any money for extra repairs. The biggest one I had to do, which I forgot about, was the gas tank straps and the gas tank itself, because, let me see here, there's usually a sorry for the darkness, but there's usually a firewall from factory underneath the gas tanks, and it causes them to rust out quickly. I've even seen them rust out in areas with a high salt content. So please keep that in mind when you're purchasing one of these. The other thing to look out for, as I said many times, if it's a police model, look out for the transmission and anything like that. So that is going to be much more heavily abused than this was. I know I've done quite a few full throttle runs in this, but let's be real. When I'm not doing full throttle runs, this thing is getting driven gingerly. So really not a whole lot to worry about there. This car, for Nova Scotia standards and even car standards in general, is still in very excellent shape, minus the rust coming through. So I mean, it's got 150,000 kilometers. Leather seats are still comfortable as hell. For the most part, it still looks like new. I mean, I still need to clean the car out, obviously, but I mean, it's just been, excuse me, it's just been an ultra reliable car. So would I suggest owning one 2018? Yes, I would. Just keep in mind, all of them are getting pretty old. Ooh, I need to get the keys out of my pocket. That'd be a good start. The cars are getting pretty old themselves. So, like I said, the newest one is 7 years old. We're 7 years old in September, so especially if you live in the rust area, expect to find rust on them. It's just the way it is. I do have a broken washer fluid sensor, but I honestly don't care, because, well, who really needs a washer fluid sensor when you check it often enough? The other advantage with an LX is you have the outside temp, you have this here, a slightly better radio. It doesn't glitch out like the police one likes to sometimes, and you have a CD and cassette player, ha ha ha. And then you also have the information center here, so you can see your trip A, trip B, which I never reset, how long you have until empty, and then you also have your average fuel. So that's about 23 miles per gallon right there. And actually, surprisingly, that number usually is not too far off, unless if you're doing an extreme amount of short trips. So let's say it shows I'm doing a bunch of short trips, and it shows I have 21 miles per gallon. I probably really only have about 19. So it can be off by about 2, I find sometimes. But where I've done the last couple weeks, I've been doing a lot longer trips. It's actually been bang on within like 0.2 liter 100 kilometer, which is shocking, because usually it's very far off. So like I said, guys, very, very clean in here. Where it wasn't a cop car, absolutely no holes anywhere. This compass, well, I think it finally burned out. It was coming on once in a while. You had the lamps up here for the LX model. Really, like I said, all the cars are the same. I love driving them, but this thing still drives smooth as hell. Feels like brand new when you're going down the road. It still feels much better than pretty much every new car. And for those old school fans, you're always going to love the nice long hood looking out the window. It's just something that goes with the car. So really, I can't complain. Like, even with the higher gas cost, I would say this thing is still cheaper to drive than a lot of vehicles that are somewhat better on gas, just because of how reliable it is. Like, look at this odometer. That's coming up on 100,000 US miles. And besides the rust issues that I've had, this car in its whole life has only had, let me think, 3 unscheduled maintenance repairs. So that would be when it was under warranty. So at 40,000 or 50,000 kilometers, it had the automatic transmission clutches replaced. I don't know why. At 90,000 kilometers, it had new front springs. And at 138,000 kilometers, it had sway bar bushings and links installed. Those are the only non-scheduled regular maintenance repairs that this car has had. That's it. Tell me how many other vehicles can make it almost 100,000 miles with those being with only 3 repairs like that. And like I said, I have no idea why the automatic transmission clutches had to be replaced. I did not own the car at that time. That was when the car was only a few years old. So honestly, guys, I would definitely say go out and buy yourself one. There goes the Grand Marquis, passed by right there. I missed it. I would say go buy yourself one ASAP if you want one. Just make sure it's in good shape, because obviously a beat up cop car, like, and I do mean beat up, not like a detective's version or something. I mean ones that have been put through the ringer. They're going to have more issues. You're going to have premature intake manifold air issues. You're going to have transmission issues. Generally, the engines are extremely reliable, so you don't even really have to think about those too much. And then you'll also have like your shocks and springs that all need to be replaced, and brakes on a beat up crap cop car. So even when looking for a patrol car, get it mechanically inspected, just like you would any other car. Don't take that risk, because a lot of them do have a lot of hidden repairs that you may not find in a 20-minute test drive or something like that. It's just the way they are, but a lot of them are good. So it's a catch-22, the civilian model. I lucked out. Bought it some years ago at 99,000. Been excellent. Best car I've ever owned. Wouldn't blink an eye doing it again. So thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, another Crown Vic video. Maybe I'll take you guys for a quick spin down the road, because why the hell not? What else do we have to do on a Wednesday night in the valley? Not much. Gotta love that first gear whine that never ever gets old. Ever. Where the hell is the signal light? No one's around. Even with just a single exhaust, the car sounds gorgeous going up a hill. Like I said, guys, going down the road here, a few bumps, not too bad. You don't even feel it when you're sitting in the car. Like, yeah, the car rocks a little bit, but honestly, it goes over them like you're floating on air, which is great, because even most brand new luxury cars, it doesn't feel like you're floating on air anymore. These vehicles really do have a unique ride. The police models ride a bit harder, but they're still very nice to drive. You really have to go drive one for yourself to understand what I mean. And I think anyone that owns a Panther or has owned a Caprice or something like that over the past can really attest to what I'm talking about. The road noise is my only complaint. Once you get above 100 kilometers an hour, so about 60 miles an hour, it can start to get a little high. But overall, it's fairly subdued. I mean, it is what it is. It's still an old design car, but it's held up well. You gotta think, Ford last did a super major redesign on these in 1992 when they went to the 4.6. So I mean, the fact is, these engines have been going that long. Used them in the Mustangs, transmissions. The cars have gone through a decent amount of changes, but overall they've stayed mostly the same, give or take a few changes here and there. So like I said, guys, thank you for watching another video. I know that was a bit of a short drive, probably wanted a longer one. Hopefully I'll do a longer drive video next time. Try and get in 10 minutes of driving or something like that. Just so you guys can go along for the ride. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a good one.